Good afternoon, students. I welcome you all for the class. Today, we'll be going to discuss regarding some important concepts in our computer organization and microprocessor. So, in the last class, we have discussed regarding the functional units of a microprocessor, like what are the basic units of a computer, and which unit is responsible for what, and what is the advantage of each and every unit. All the things we have seen in the last class. And today we'll be going to discuss regarding some of the important concepts like what do you mean by a bus, what is the structure of a bus, and how do you estimate the performance of a computer, and what do you mean by a processor clock, and what is the final basic performance equation. So all the things we'll be going to cover in this lecture. Fine. So when it comes to a bus or a structure of a bus, first let me tell you what do you mean by a bus. So a bus is nothing but, like, when we are going to talk in a real world example, so what do you mean by a bus? So the bus is used to carry the people from source to destination. Fine. Like a bus is going to drop the people from one place to another place. So here in the same manner, like when we are going to talk regarding the computer sense or a computer knowledge, like a bus is nothing but which is going to carry the data, which is going to carry the address signals, and which is going to carry the control signals. So here a bus, when we are going to talk regarding a bus, uh, here we'll be going to have three different types of buses. So what are the three different types of buses? In the sense, bus is divided into three. The first one is address bus, and the second one is data bus, and the third one is control bus. So these are the three different buses. So these three different buses collectively we call it as a system bus. What do you mean by a bus? In the sense, bus is nothing but which is used to transfer the address or data or a control signals. What do you mean by a system bus? In the sense, the collection of address bus, data bus, and control bus together we call it as a system bus. So here, the what do you mean by bus structure? It is the simplest and most common way of interconnecting various parts of the computer. Fine, without the buses, we can't communicate with other parts of the computer system. So in the previous lecture, we have seen the different functional units of a computer. Like what are the major functional units? Like you'll be going to have a CPU. In that CPU, we'll be going to have the ALU and the memory unit. We'll be going to have the input unit, we are going to have the output unit, we'll be going to have the mm, control unit. So all these are the different functional parts of a computer. So in order to contact or in order to interact with any one of the component of the computer, we need something to interact with that. That's something what we call it as a bus. So this bus is a common way of interconnecting various parts of the computer. Without the buses, we can't transfer the address, we can't transfer the data, we can't transfer the control signals too. So if these are not done, so it is of no use. So in order to get our work to be done in a proper manner, so all the three buses are very much important: the address bus, data bus, and the control bus. So many of you will forget regarding the control bus, right? So mind functional parts in the sense, like you will be of in a hurry input unit, output unit, memory, and the CPU, but you will be going to forget regarding the control bus. But actually the control bus is the one which is going to control each and every part of the computer. Without the control bus, you can't do the actions in a proper manner. So this control bus is the one which is going to send the control signals to each and every functional unit of the computer to perform the task at a particular predefined derived time. Fine. So that is the importance of a control bus. So to achieve a reasonable speed of operation, a computer must be organized, right? So organized in the sense, first this has to be done, second this step has to be done, third this step has to be done, like that we have to be organized. So without this organization, like you can't going to get the output in a proper manner. So first, if we are going to do this first and this second and this third, will we going to get the output in a proper manner? No, obviously not. We'll be not going to get the proper output in a proper manner. So in order to get a output in a proper manner, it has to be organized. So which will be going to organize in the sense, the computer control signals has to be sent to each and every part so that it will be organized. So a group of lines that serve as a connecting port for several devices called a bus. So this is the definition. It is a group of lines that serve as a connecting port for several devices is called a bus. Fine, that is the definition of a bus. In addition to these lines that carries the data, the bus must have the lines for the address and for the control. Not only it has to carry the data, it has to carry the address as well as it has to carry the control bus. So this is the architecture of a bus system. So as I have said you before, so you'll be going to have the control bus, you'll be going to have the address bus, and you'll be going to have the data bus. So these are the functional parts, the CPU, memory, and the input and the output unit. Fine. CPU, memory, input and output unit. So when it comes to the CPU, memory and output unit, see here, so control bus, if you are going to check the control bus is going to have the bidirectional response, bidirectional plugin. So bidirectional, whenever you have seen, the control bus will be bidirectional. Why? Because it has to send the controls as well as it has to receive the controls. So when it comes to the address bus, so address bus, CPU to address bus is of single direction. CPU will send the address on the address bus. Fine. But when it comes to the data bus, CPU will send the data to the data bus and CPU will receive the data from the data bus. It is a bidirectional one. So this line arrow marks are very, very important. So when you are going to check, this control bus is going to have a bidirectional signal. Why? Because a two-way communication has to be needed. But when it comes to the CPU and the address bus, it is CPU will transfer the data to the address. CPU will transfer the data to the address bus, but not the address bus will not transfer the data to the CPU. But when it comes to the memory, CPU, memory, see here. So this address bus is CPU to memory, it was not there. The address bus to the memory, it was there. Why? Because the memory will not send anything to the address bus. From address bus, we'll be going to search in the memory. Suppose if 1000 address I have specified, in the sense, in memory where that 1000 memory location is there, that I'll be going to check. So here the line is from address bus to the memory. But when it comes to the input output unit, it is bidirectional. So from address bus we'll be going to send to the input output unit, and from input output unit we'll be going to send the address bus. When it comes to the data bus, CPU to data bus is bidirectional, memory to data bus is bidirectional, and input output unit to data bus is bidirectional. Why? Because data can be to and from. But when it comes to the address, the CPU will send an address to the address bus, but address bus will not send an address to the CPU. So this is how the architecture of a system bus is going to be having. So together this control bus, address bus and data bus, we will be going to call it as a system bus. So this is the architecture of a bus. And when it comes to the address bus, data bus and control bus, so as I have said you, address bus is used to carry the address to memory and IO. It is an unidirectional. So based on the width of the address bus, we can determine the capacity of the main memory. So based on the width, whether it is a 16-bit or 32-bit or a 64-bit, so based on the address, we can determine the capacity of the main memory. Why? Because the main memory capacity is very small. So when it is going to take, if it is a 16-bit, it is very small. If it is a 64-bit, it is somewhat high. So based on the capacity of the address bus, we'll be going to tell the capacity of the main memory. When it comes to the data bus is used to carry the data. So data is in which format? It is in binary format, that is zeros and ones, fine. So the data between the CPU, memory and IO. So the data bus will be bidirectional. So based on the width of the data bus, we can determine the word length of the CPU, fine. And next one is the control bus. What is the task of this control bus? This task of the control bus is to carry the control signals and timing signals. So control signals indicates the type of operation. Timing signals used to synchronize the memory and IO operations with the CPU clock. So what do you mean by a clock? Everything I'll be going to discuss later. So this is how the address bus, data bus and control bus will be having, right? So if the control bus is missing, we can't send the control signal. So with the without proper controlling, we can't organize the actions that are going to take place in the computer file. So these are the different types of buses. And next one is performance. So we have to keep in mind about the performance of the CPU. Fine. The CPU performance should be high. CPU performance should be high. So when that equation is going to be satisfied, if we are keeping the CPU in a busy state, then the CPU performance is going to be high. Fine. If the CPU is in idle, then the performance is going to be very low. So how we are going to measure it? So the most important measure of performance of a computer is how quickly it can execute programs. So this is how we can measure the performance of the computer. If the computer can execute in 5 milliseconds, the performance is good. If it is taking 10 milliseconds, the performance is poor one compared to the first one. So based on the execution, so based on the how much fast it is executing, we'll be going to estimate the performance of a computer. The speed with which a computer program executes is affected by the design of its hardware. So how the speed is going to be affected in the sense by making use of hardware. If the hardware is not designed properly, the speed is going to be ultimately reduced. So based on the hardware only, the performance of the CPU is going to be measured. So in order to have a burst measure performance, what are the measures do we need to take? It is necessary to design the compilers, the machine instruction set and the hardware in a coordinated way. If the compilers, hardware instructions and the instruction set is designed properly, then we can say that we will be going to achieve the performance in a better way. So this is the architect, this is the figure that is going to show how the performance is going to be achieved. See here, this is the system bus. So system bus in the sense, as I have said you before, it is going to have address bus, data bus and the control bus. So this is the system bus. So the system bus is connected with the main memory and system bus is connected with the processor. So when we are going to see here in the processor we have included a cache over here. In the processor we have placed a cache over here. Why? Because when we are going to talk regarding the performance of a thing, so actually the hierarchy is main memory and the processor. So you will be going to have you'll be going to have the main memory over here and the processor over here. If a processor needs anything, it will be going to check in the main memory. Fine, but the main memory capacity is very small. So what we are going to do is, in order to match the speed between the processor and the main memory, what we are going to do is we are going to incorporate a cache between the processor and the main memory. What the cache will do is, suppose if a processor asked for X instruction, so that X instruction is also will be stored in the cache. And next it has done some 2 3 instructions in the middle, fine, and again it need X instruction. So what the processor will do is, instead of going and checking in the main memory, it will be going to check in the cache only. Fine, why? Because X has been already executed once. So that is the reason why we are going to place a cache. The speed is going to be increased. If the speed is increased, ultimately the performance is going to be achieved. Fine, why we are going to incorporate cache in the sense, that is the reason. The main memory speed is very slow. Why? Because the capacity of the main memory is very small. All the instructions it can't store in it. All the instructions will be stored in the secondary memory. If CPU asks for any instruction, first it will check in the main memory. If that particular instruction was there, the CPU will take and execute. If the particular instruction was not there, the CPU has to be waiting, is going to be waited until the instruction will be getting from secondary memory to the main memory. So that time we are going to be wasted. So in order to have that gap between the processor and the main memory, in between the processor and the main memory, we have included a cache memory. So what the cache is used to do is, actually the other name of cache is the fastest memory. Why we are going to say the cache is the fastest memory? In the sense, like this the capacity of a cache memory is also very small when compared to the main memory. But what the cache will store is repeatedly doing instructions, or frequently used instructions are going to be stored in the cache. So when this processor needs any instruction, first it will check in the cache memory. Then if that instruction is not available, then it will check in the main memory. If that instruction is not available in main memory, then it will be going to check in the secondary memory. This is the hierarchy. So that's the reason, in order to match the speed between the main memory and the processor, we are incorporating a cache in between the CPU and the processor. So this is how the performance is going to be increased. So uh, what do you mean by a processor clock? So processor clock, in the sense, inside each and every processor we used to have a clock, that we call it as a processor clock. So these processor circuits are controlled by a timing signal called clock. So the clock is designed at regular intervals of time called clock cycles. So within how many clock cycles it has finished, like that we'll be going to say. So if any machine instruction, like in order to execute any machine instruction, this processor, what it will going to do is, it will be going to divide the task to be performed into sequence of steps. So each step can be completed in one clock cycle, one clock tick, or one clock cycle we'll be going to say. Fine. So the length P of one clock cycle is an important parameter that affects the processor performance. So if P is going to be very much effective, if the P is less, the processor performance is going to be decreasing. If the processor performance decreasing, in the sense, then the throughput is not at all satisfied. Fine. So these are the drawbacks we will be going to have in the performance. The processor clock has to be synchronized. So if it is a synchronized one, then we will be going to have the better performance. And finally, regarding the basic performance equation. So what is the equation? In the sense, what is the basic performance equation, how we are going to uh, uh, calculate the performance, in the sense this is the formula: T is equal to N into S by R. So what is T, what is N, S and R, that we'll be going to see here. The T is the processor time. So like in order to execute a particular instruction, how much amount of time we are in need of, that tells the T. T is nothing but the processor time. And when it comes to the N, what is N, in the sense, like N is the actual number of instructions, fine, like how many number of instruction executed. So that is the N, representation of N. Suppose if we want to, if we executed a complete program that requires the execution of N machine cycles, as I have said you in the previous slide, so that task is divided into number of machine cycles, like how many machine cycles that has been divided, that is going to be divided, represented by N. When it comes to the S, S is nothing but it is the average number of basic steps needed. So that average number of basic step needed, we comes to it as an S. And finally the R, in the sense clock rate. So this whole thing, when we are going to communicate together, combine together, then we'll be going to get the equation T is equals to N into S by R. This is the best performance equation. Just you are going to have the problems regarding this formula. They'll be going to give the they'll be going to asking you the time required for a particular program, like they'll be going to asking you the time T when they are going to give this an S and R, or else any one of the parameter they'll be going to missing and they'll be going to ask you to find that parameter. So based on this equation, you will be going to get an exam problem for 2 marks based on this, right? This is how the basic performance equation is going to be calculated. So this is the main concept when we are going to talk in this bus structure. So the bus structure is very important, and how we are going to calculate the performance. So performance is going to be high. So how we are going to achieve that? This architecture we have seen, we have incorporated a cache between the processor and the main memory in order to match the speed of the CPU. So processor clock, inside clock should be there, that is to be synchronized, like each and every task is divided into number of clock cycles. So based on the clock cycles, we'll be going to execute the performance. And what is the final performance equation and what is the terminology also we have seen. So this is the how the performance is going to be calculated for a particular processor, fine. And that's all for today, students. I hope you got the information. Thank you all, students. Have a great day.